Welcome to math lesson 4.3. You need out a blue and a violet color, and then you need to get your journal set up like this and make sure you put the correct date in the date box. Push pause on the video until it's set up. So today we're going to be learning about multiply using place value sections. So we're going to be doing multiplying in a different method, and you can see that the phrase in the blue cloud says there are lots of multiplication methods to use, and one of them is called place value sections. So that's what we're going to learn about today is place value sections. And I know you already know how to do the standard algorithm, and you know how to use mental math if possible, but we do want to look at how to take a multi-digit number times a multi-digit number and multiply them together in new and unique ways. Now, this might not be your favorite way, but that's okay. We're going to learn all of them. And then at the end, after the next lesson or two, you're going to be able to look at all the methods we've learned and choose for yourself which method you like the best or makes the most sense to you. So that's how math always works, is some things work really well for some people and some things don't work really well. So we're just here to find out which methods you like learning. So you may have been introduced to this method last year. I'm really interested to see if some of you know this, but here is what we're going to start doing. We're going to be using this number for this method. So we're going to go ahead and just write it pretty big across the side, like going diagonal. Let's do 43 times 67. So we have a 2 by 2 multiplication problem. So the very first thing we're going to do, I'm going to write step number 1. Take the first number and break it into place value sections. Okay. Take the first number and break it into place value sections. Then we're going to put in parentheses here, draw a rectangle to begin with. In fact, I kind of wish I would have said that as very first, but this is step number 1. We're going to be drawing a rectangle to begin with, and we're going to take the first number and break it into place value sections. So let's draw a rectangle to begin with. We went down 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. So I'm going to draw that rectangle purple. So I draw a rectangle, and I'm going to break up the first number into place value sections. So if I break up the number 43, we have 2 place values. We have the tens and we have the ones. So we have 40 and 3. That's how you break that number up. So I'm just going to break it up using going left and right. So I'm going to go 40 over here in the tens place, and 3 here. And here's how I'm going to show that it's broken up into sections. Because 40 is quite a bit bigger number than 3, I'm going to make it not be perfectly down the middle, but a little more on the side like this. So I have 40 and 3, and they're now broken up into these sections. Now we're going to do step number 2. So step number 1 wasn't very hard. Step number 2. Take the other number and break it into place value sections on the side. So this one we did on the top. Well, maybe we should add that. Take the first number and break it into place value sections along the top. So the next step is take the other number So it says take the other number and break it into place value sections. So we're going to be doing the same thing. Take the other number and break it into place value sections. And then we're going to put a little star on this one. And instead of saying along the top, we're going to say along the side. Typically that means left, but you might occasionally, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry you couldn't see that the whole time. Well, push pause the video and get that written. It says take the other number and break it into place value sections along the side, so on the left. Okay, so now let's come back up into our rectangle and let's do step number 2. Let's circle this one blue, and actually come back up here to number 1, and we're just going to make the 40 be purple, best you can, and that 3. Now let's come up and do the other ones and break them into place value sections. So if my other number is 67, so I have a 60 and a 7. You have the tens place and the ones place. So to break that one up, I'm going to do 60 right here, and then I'm going to put 7 along the bottom. And just like we did before, we're going to break these up. Now if I go right along the middle, it'll seem like 60 is the same size as 7, and they're not. 60 is bigger, so I'm going to kind of go like this, across. So I have 60, and I have 7. So think about as 60 going across, and 7 going across. Then I have 40 going down, and 3 going down. So think of it as sections. You have this section, and left to right again. So you have a lot of different sections, but how many total sections do you see right now? I see 4. Can you count them? 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have a tens and a tens. Those are going to be multiplied by each other. Then you're going to be doing this tens and these ones multiplied by each other. Then you're going to be doing this ones and these tens, because you're going to kind of run your fingers along until they collide. And then you'll be doing the ones and the ones right here. So each of these numbers, you're going to find the area of them, or you do the left times the top. And if this were to keep going, it would be the left times the top, the left times the top, and the left times the top. That's how I remember place value sections. Is like you're finding the area of each mini rectangle is kind of what's happening. Okay? I want you to put the plus sign right here, because that's how I get 43 is by doing 40 plus 3, and this is how I get 67 by doing 60 plus 7. Okay, so we did step number 2 along the blue, along the left. We used it going left. This other one along the top, we used it with purple. All right, let's move on to step number 3. Step number 3. Find the area of each little new rectangle. That's what I was just talking about. So area means length times width, remember, but you're just going to remember as take the left number multiplied by the top number. Left multiplied the top. I'm going to write have your fingers collide. You'll know what that means because we just learned that. So find the area of each new little rectangle, left times the top, and have your fingers collide. So if I'm going to be doing this little rectangle right here in the bottom, see how it's got a long and skinny one, I'm going to start at the top because it's a left and a top. And I'm going to run in. What two numbers are going to run into each other? Or how would I find the area of this? I would do 7 times whatever this length is, which is 40. So that's how I'd find this little area. Or I always think of it as my fingers colliding. So if the 7's running across left to right and the 40's going down, boom, they're going to hit. So 40 and 7, boom, they're going to make whatever 40 times 7 is. So that's the next step we're going to do, is we're going to collide all of these or find the area of all these mini rectangles. So here we go. In the first rectangle box, you ready? What two numbers are going to collide in this rectangle? So I'm covering up everything else. You can see it. It's really obvious. If the 40 goes down and the 60 goes across, 40 down, 60 across, you're going to get 40 times 60, which is, this is all mental math. What's 6 times 4? 24 with 2 zeros. So we're going to kind of go like this with the purple. So the purple comes down, the blue came across, and they kind of collided into each other. And I just multiply them together. 60 times 40, well, 6 times 4 is 24, and then it has 2 zeros. So the area of this first rectangle is 2,400. Make sure you put the comma in the right place. And now I'm going to keep going. Well, what about this 60 coming across this way? It still is going to come across and it's going to hit that rectangle. And then the 3 is going to come down. And guess what's going to eventually happen? Boom, they're going to collide. Right there. So now I do 60 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18. And I have 1 0. That's why those mental math practicing skills we practiced, that was a weird sentence, sorry. That's why the mental math that we practice is going to be really handy here, because we have some zeros. So as long as you know 3 times 6, you'll know 3 times 60, because it's just 3 times 6 with a 0. Okay, let's see what else we can get to collide. The 7 goes across, the 40 is still coming down, and boom, they're going to hit into each other. So 40 times 7 is 28 with a 0. And then the 7 still goes across. You got to still find this rectangle. And the 3 is still coming down. So 7 times 3, 21. Okay, I did step number 3. I found the area of each new little rectangle. 2,400, 180, 280, and 21. So, what are these called? These are called partial products. So I have just found what I need to do next. This is step number 4. What do you think is going to happen next? You're just going to leave it like this? Well, I still have to find the answer to 43 times 67. So what am I going to do with all of these partial products? Think about it. We've learned it before. The phrase, blank the partial products. You're going to add them together. If you were guessing add, you were correct. Add the partial products together. To get your final answer. Add the partial products together to get your final answer. Okay, well, I have a bunch of partial products, don't I? Yes, I do. So I just take all of them and I add them together. So I have 2,400. I have this one and I have this one combined. So you can also add it like you can add these together going across or going up and down. It doesn't matter. I like to kind of mix it up every once in a while. But if I just were to take all of these, a lot of it I can do in my head, but sometimes it's easier just to stack them. So if I just stack them up, I had 2,400, 180. I'm going to add this one first. I got 2,580, and then I still have to add 280 and 21. Well, if you can mental math this adding, it's going to be a lot faster. 280 plus 20 is going to give you 300. So it's 300 plus you have another 1. So it's 301. So I have 2,580 and 301. You're going to want to use as many of your mental math skills as you've learned. When you get to the final answer, see if you got the same as me. 2,881. So here are what we're doing here. These are the partial products. So let's go ahead and label that. Partial products. Now this final thing is your final answer. So on step number 5, because you know how much I love 5, step number 5 is to circle your final answer. So a lot of writing steps, but luckily we are done writing steps. So let's see, what color should we circle this? How about purple? So 5 steps in all. First, you break up the first number and draw a rectangle. So run them across the top, 43. Then break up the second number, 67. You know, one goes left and right, the other one goes on the left-hand side. Sorry, one goes across the top, the other number goes on the left. Then you find each area, and we won't have to do the dashed lines anymore. We're just going to do what would multiply by to get that product. Find the area of each little square or rectangle, and then add the partial products to get your final answer. And then circle it. So these are all pretty simple steps for us to follow. It just takes a little bit of time, but once you find it and once you get into the habit, you're going to do great. I just know it. So let's turn the page and see if we can practice some together. The first problem we want to try together is 39 times 54. So will you show that to me just as a problem like this? We could do this using standard algorithm, but I want us to practice place value sections. Okay? So the very first thing is we're going to draw a rectangle. I don't care what color the rectangle is. This time I chose blue. I'm going to break up the first number. 39 gets broken up into 2 place values because there's 2 numbers. So you break it up by saying 39. So you go across the top, 39. I do always kind of just put them towards the edges. Then you're going to think through, okay, well, they're not even exactly, so I could go like this to break those up, right? 39. Now I'm going to break up the other number, 54. So 54. And the same thing applies. I'm going to break them up with another color. You're not going to go right across the middle. You can do something maybe like that. It's kind of fun. So then you find the area. We're already on step number 3, by the way. Yep. Find the area of each. Oh, you know what's going to bug me is that this is running into, I should have spaced this out more. Will you put a cloud around that? Okay, find the area of each rectangle. So we're not going to draw the dashed lines. Let's just use our fingers. Those two would run into each other. If 50 went across and 30 went down, you'd be doing 50 times 30. 50 times 30. Maybe we better write that in here. We won't always have to. I'm sorry. It's just good practice for you to know what's happening if you ever get stuck. So 50 times 30. Well, you know what 5 times 3 is? It's 15. And you have 1, 2 zeros. So it's 1,500 in there. You can even circle these little partial products if you want. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, let's do the next square. So your 50 runs across, the 9 runs down. So this one, you're doing 50 times 9. 9 times 5 is 45, but you have a 0. So you get 450. Okay, let's find this long, skinny rectangle. You're doing a 4 by 30. That's how long it is. So 4 by 30. I'm just going to write it like this. 4 by 30. 4 times 3 is 12 with a 0. I only have one partial product left, and it's 4 times 9. And we all know 4 times 9 is 36. So look at all of these. I actually am really glad we wrote the numbers inside of instead of the dashes. I think that's going to be helpful to anyone who might get stuck. So if you ever get stuck on how to do place value sections, this would be a really good one to look at to know what's happening. Okay, what's my next step? Let's use our journal. That's what it's here for. So we found the area of each new little rectangle. Add the partial products together to get your final answer, and then circle it. So we need to add the partial products together. Okay. A lot of this can be done with mental math. Let's see if you can do that. Should we try adding them going down? Or we can add them going across again. It doesn't matter. Let's do adding down because I can do this in my head. Take a look. 1,500 plus 120. I'd kind of like just throw a 120 up here. And I can do the math in my head. It'll be a 0, a 2, a 6, a 1. A 0, a 2, a 6, a 1. So those two added together made 1,620 plus, what do these two make together? Well, 450 plus 36, you're just going to be adding 36 to the 50 because there's no hundreds. So it'll be 50, 60, 70, 80. So 480, and then you have 6 more. So 486. That's how you get these ones. So this one was 1620. This one was 486. I'm just showing you where I got those. And now add the partial products. We've got a lot of partial products here. Circle your final answer when you're done. Circle it in purple. I got 2,106. Okay, let's try another one. And this time, let's not write all of the little multiplication steps. Let's just go ahead and write the answer. Okay, we're going to kind of move forward. The next problem I want to try is, let's do 29 times, well, let's do 20, we haven't done any sevens. We'll do 27 times, what other numbers haven't we done? Let's go 65. 27 times 65. So very first step, let's come over here a little bit further away from it. Draw a rectangle. And again, this rectangle can be the same size as the one we keep drawing, or bigger or smaller. I would actually not want it to be much smaller because you're going to have to show some numbers in there. And if you drew it tiny, that's going to be really hard to do. Break up the first number. How do you break up 27? 27. So I'm going to go like this. How do you break up the next number? 65. 65. And I'm going to break them up more like this. So you notice that I'm just doing pencil marks now. So 2765. You're going to find the area of each rectangle. So if I'm finding the area of this rectangle, I would be doing 60 times 20. The length times the width, or they would run into each other. So 60 times 20. 6 times 2 is 12 with 2 zeros. So I got 1,200 inside of there. Now let's do this other one. 60 times 7. 6 times 7 is 42 with 1 0. Let's come and do this rectangle. 20 and 5, because it's 20 long and 5 wide. 20 times 5. Well, 5 times 2 is 10 plus another 0. Would give you 100. And then the last one, this one's always the easiest because it's 1 times 1s, the 1's place by the 1's place. It's 5 times 7, 35. So there are my partial products. Is everyone good with that? Think through it, double check it, look at it. Make sure that you are like thinking through this. Again, I think working left to right is kind of nice too when you add partial products. So let's go ahead and work left to right, okay? 1,200 plus 420. So I'm just going to put the little plus sign in here. We're moving across this way. 1,200 plus 420. Well, 1,200. If you add 400 to 200, you get 600. So 1,620. Here's why I like to add them left to right, is because look, you can just automatically stack them like this. It's really nice. And then this is easy. 100 plus 35 is 135. So you just add those partial products up to get your final answer. 0 plus 5 is 5. 2 plus 3 is 5. 6 plus 1 is 7. And 1 plus nothing is 1. So my final answer is 1,755. So let's maybe get into that habit of we add our partial products moving left to right for place value sections. Okay. Will you go ahead and put the original number in a cloud? Sorry, the original problem. We're going to do one more on this side. And this time I'm going to make it a little more complicated. We're going to do a 3-digit by a 2-digit. By a 2-digit. Because it actually is pretty easy to do. You'll be able to handle it just fine. So move it down. This is the last one that we'll do on this page. So you can use the remaining space. The problem I want to do is 429. So there's my 3-digit. And I want to multiply it by 86. It's okay, you can do this. You just have to draw a little bit bigger rectangle. So I'm going to kind of go down. This time I'm going to go really far across. Made a pretty big rectangle. The more digits you're working with, the bigger you'll want your rectangle to be. And if the first number is big, you want it to be longer. If the second number is big, you want it to be taller going this way. Anyway, okay, so how do we break up 429? It sounds just like it. You need a 400, you need a 20, and you need a 9. So 420 is going to be in the middle, and 9. So you broke it up by place values. Here's the hundreds, here's the tens, here's the ones. So hundreds is bigger. So mine's going to kind of look like this. See how the hundreds is a little bit bigger. Then the 20s, it got a little bit smaller because it's the tens. And then my ones place is smallest. It does not have to be like this. You could just do it in thirds. It's okay. I just like to visually see so that it makes sense in my head. That 400 is more than the 9. Great. So we broke up 429. Now we need to break up 86. So when you break up 86, it looks like this. 80 and 6. And then you're just going to cut across. Okay, I have the 80. I'm going to do this one in purple and leave the other one just in blue. So there's my 86 going across. And then there's 429. So the only thing that's going to be more difficult, it's not actually difficult, it's just going to take more time, is because you have more squares or more rectangles to find the area. But it's not bad. It's pretty easy if you just cover everything you're not thinking about. If you just look at this, what are the measurements that this would work with? How long is it left to right? It's 400. And how tall is it top to bottom? It's 80. So it's 400 times 80. Well, I can do 4 times 8. 4 times 8 is 32. And then I add the remaining 3 zeros. 32,000. Okay, let's move on. What if I'm trying to find this rectangle? I have a 20 going left and right, and how tall is it? Well, you'll have to search for the height line. Where's another line that looks that tall? Right over here, 80. So if you just think, if that's hard for you, then just run the 80 across, run the 20 down, boom, and they run into each other. So 80 times 20. 8 times 2 is 16. Got 2 more zeros. Big numbers. And then 80 times 9. 8 times 9 is 72 with 1 0. 720. All right, now we're doing the 6. 6 times 400. So 24 with 2 zeros. You've got to know your multiplication facts, otherwise this is going to take a really long time. Now you're doing 20 times 6. See how my fingers ran into each other? Watch again. $20 times 6. Well, 2 times 6 is 12 with a 0. And then the easiest one of all is the ones place. Take a look at all of those partial products. Along the bottom, 2,400, 120, and 54. So now I add all these up to get my partial products. Now, I'm not going to know any of these in my head, except for maybe those two added together. So I'm really just going to kind of stack them up over here, and I'm just going to start higher. So 32,000 plus 1,600 and 720. So you can see I'm adding them up really small over on the side. Make sure you put everything in the right place value. Otherwise that's going to get really messy. So I have a 0, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 3. Anytime I add a bunch of numbers like that, I like to go back and just double check. 0, 2, 6 plus 7 is 13, 4, and 3. So one of my partial products here, all of those added together, this one added to this one, added to that one, equaled 34,320. Okay, now let's add these ones. 2,400. Actually, I think you could do this one if you kind of work backwards. Look, 54 plus this. Well, 120 plus 50 would be 170, and then 4 more. So 174. And if I just kind of bring over the 174 in the box, I would get a 4, a 7, a 5, a 2. So it's 2,574. 2,574. So I'm going to put that number up here to be added to this other partial product. Make sure you line up the thousands place. 2,574. And then you just add those together. 0 plus 4 is 4. 9, 8, 6, 3. My final answer is 36,894. Pretty crazy. I'd like to challenge you at the end. Make sure that you could do a difficult problem. You won't be asked to do a problem that's this hard, but I think it's kind of fun to practice that to make sure you know what you're doing. So when we added these rows right here, we were finding partial products. And a lot of the times, if you can't do them in your head, it's okay. You can just stack them all up. Or you could add ones together that make more sense to you. That part doesn't matter. But we're going to be done with this video for now, and then I'll catch you in the next video to find out what else is left.